Nicole Barker, Alyssa Rowland, Tori Hornby, Logan Smith, Ashley Cook. Welcome to The Talk. Today is our blast from the past.
Get yours for only $19.99 plus shipping and handling. Brought to you by Glacier Glasses Incorporated. Surfing the web wherever you go.
Our first event is the Battle of Chancellorsville. It took place in 1863. The cause of this event was that the Union forces crossed the Rappahannock River trying to surround Lee's army. The effect was that Lee expected another victory like this battle. So, what did we think about this event?
Well, the Battle of Chancellorsville was an earlier one, May 2nd, 1863.
And General Lee and General Joseph Hooker were involved.
From the which side?
The Union.
Funny, Nicole. Robert E. Lee was from the Confederacy.
We've only talked about this 8 times. And I'm the one.
Joseph Hooker was actually from the Union.
Okay. Well,
Didn't Lee outmaneuver General Hook?
Yeah, that's what I had remembered hearing about the Battle of Chancellorsville.
and forced the Union army to retreat, of course.
Yes.
Going to say that. Good job.
I don't know what was sadder, this or our future event, the assault on Fort Wagner. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes. So, if I recall correctly, Lee split his army and held off the Union forces in Fredericksburg.
That would sound about right.
Oh, yes.
Well, after the Battle of Chancellorsville, Stonewall Jackson was shot in the arm by his own army because they were being very cautious and they didn't recognize their own general, and he died a day later. But that caused the Confederacy to want to fight more, and their string of victories after, boy.
And I guess eventually the South defeated the North at Chancellorsville, and Lee won. Yeah, so
I mean, that was assumed.
they brought it. At least they brought a comeback after killing.
It was almost like an empty victory, though. Though they did win, and they can count that as a victory in the war, what did it mean? It was kind of a given that they were going to win.
Yeah, I would say so.
Guess you're right.
This was right before the Battle of Gettysburg, where the South would just lose all of their resources.
Our next event is the assault on Fort Wagner, which took place in 1863. The cause was Gilmore wanted to seize Morris Island because it would eliminate the Confederate stronghold near Fort Sumter. The effect was Gilmore launched an attack spearheaded by the 54th Massachusetts Infantry. What do you guys know about the assault on Fort Wagner?
Well, that is a tricky one, isn't it?
Well, it was like a death trap.
That's horrible.
Yes.
For the Union, not for the
Yes.
Confederacy.
Yes.
Yes, the Confederacy did win this one pretty well.
Yeah, well, we have to remember in the first few years of the war, the Confederacy had many victories from 1861 to 1863. I think this is pre-Gettysburg, if I'm correct. So, any details we have about that?
Weren't the African Americans involved in this one?
Yes.
Yes.
The Union allowed African Americans to participate in this assault on the Fort Wagner, and they proved their worth in the assault, and they decided to use them in future battles.
That's right. Okay. So that was quite the change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, after the stance on the Emancipation Proclamation, well, I mean, why not? But why don't we talk about the event at hand?
yes.
Quincy Gilmore puts Robert Gould Shaw to go to Fort Wagner and do this assault so they can try to take over Charleston. And when Robert Gould Shaw takes his army to the fort, he realizes the complete and utter failure by the time he is left And he's actually killed. So clearly he realizes his failure.
Yes.
Um,
That would be failure, wouldn't it?
Yes. Well, the Union tries to barrage the fort, and by the time that happens, they have to march down the beach because they're out of bullets and they haven't hit the fort, and they are all shot at by Confederates, basically in an open field. Sad, really.
Yeah.
But there's much more, even, to say about this.
Is there really?
Yeah,
Yes, I believe the first 100 soldiers knew they were going to die almost.
Probably.
Thus making them heroes with all the others.
Yes.
what happened after they were shot?
They died.
Well, thanks, Eric.
Well, what's the best progress the Union made?
I assume that they actually got close enough to them to fight, right?
What, like with the walls? I had heard something about the walls.
Oh, yes. The walls were penetrated, I believe, at 2 points, and so the Union could enter there. And yet they still were defeated by the Confederacy.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a given, I guess, because they were on the Confederates' land. So the Confederates knew they're where they were and stuff.
Well, let's not forget the fort was on an island.
Yes.
Horrible, really.
So this must have been partially a Navy battle.
Yeah.
Sherman's March to the Sea, which happened in 1864. The cause of this event was that the Confederate Army tried to cut off William Sherman's supply lines, and the effect was the complete destruction of the South. So, what do you guys know about the Sherman's March to the Sea?
Well, who was William Sherman anyways?
Well, William Sherman was a general appointed by Ulysses S. Grant.
Fighting for which side?
The North.
The Union.
The Union.
I was just
The
testing
Union,
your
yes.
skills.
I need to brush up on that.
Oh boy, guys.
So, what was the event?
Well, I heard that they obviously Sherman's marched to the sea, so obviously somehow marched to the sea. But they just plowed through a wide plowed through, and they fed off the land. So they would take, if there was crops by them, they would take the crops, and if there was water, they'd go in the rivers and take the water.
Didn't they burn all the houses down, or did I miss that when my iPad fell?
All of them
I didn't see
in their
They
path.
burnt all the houses in
All
their
the houses
path.
in
in
their
their
path.
Yes.
Yes. Wow, that's
That in South Carolina.
yes.
Not in North Carolina.
Well, North Carolina had been the last state to secede, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard.
Bless you. Yes. What else could we say?
Oh, well, 25,000 former slaves followed the Union from the Confederacy from the South once Sherman began to march north. And while Sherman marched north, he was going to run into Robert E. Lee, and this would lead to the surrender at the Appomattox Courthouse.
Action.
Our next topic is surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. The cause was the South were majorly losing in the war, and the effect was tremendous human and economic losses from the 4-year war. So what do you think that made this event be the last event in the Civil War?
Because it ended the Civil War.
Yes, obviously we get that, actually. But, I mean, what really brought it to that breaking point? What happened in it that...
Well, the South was clearly losing at this point in the war.
Yes.
The South was losing after the Battle of Gettysburg. A lot of historians would like to say the 3-day battle ended in the Confederacy losing, and from that point forward, they would never have the resources to win another battle again, according to historians anyway. Well, leading up to the final battle, suddenly, Robert E. Lee knew that he could not beat the Union, so he surrendered at the Appomattox Courthouse.
Oh, yes. What did Abraham Lincoln have to do with this?
Despite the firefighting efforts of the Union troops, flames destroyed a lot of the buildings around there and damaged hundreds more. And didn't this happen in the Union area?
Wait,
Yes?
are you trying to blame President Lincoln for burning down thousands of buildings?
Okay, sorry.
sorry.
That's a long shot.
We can blame that on Ulysses S. Grant.
Our last event is the assassination of Lincoln in 1865. The cause of this event was some people did not like Lincoln because of his view on slavery, and our effect was we lost our president. So do you guys have any facts about this event?
Oh, actually, yeah. So John Wilkes Booth was the one who shot Abraham Lincoln.
Really? I think we all knew that. But actually, they were watching a British comedy called Our American Cousin at the Ford's Theater in Illinois.
And we didn't know that.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
I heard that during the play's third act, a man who's also, John Wilkes Booth.
Oh, John
Yeah.
Wilkes Booth.
Yeah. Crept up behind Lincoln and just pistol it right in the head.
Yep. Like right back here.
Yeah.
Right back here.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And then I heard he also he got away.
Yeah,
But he broke his leg falling
He
off
broke
the
his-
balcony.
He jumped off onto the stage.
Yep.
And I heard he yelled something out that was like, "Oh, for the South," something like that.
Some people
Southern.
couldn't understand.
Yeah, I know. He was a little off. It's
Of
just-
course he was. Who would shoot our president? So, what was it really that made John Wilkes Booth shoot the president?
Well, it was his stance on slavery, actually, because during the war, Lincoln didn't want to take a stance on for or against slavery, but he did because the African American slaves were just helping out the South so much that he made the Emancipation Proclamation, and that declared slavery illegal, and John Wilkes Booth was not happy after the war was over.
He was from the South, so that does make sense.
Thank you for watching the talk, and we hope you enjoyed our blast from the past. Bye.
Bye.